Tonight on KGW News, a closer look into the backgrounds of the two people shot by a Border Patrol agent.
I lived here for about 2 years now and never seen them once.
Plus, a Portland police officer reassigned.
Renee Nicole Good, you would shoot her too!
If she drove a car at me, yes.
The police chief responds after an interaction with a protester spreads on social media. Also tonight, a trial begins in a tragic case.
I got hit right at first.
What we know about the death of a first grader mauled by dogs. And later, Washington Governor Bob Ferguson's proposal to fix the state's budget deficit.
Our current system rests most heavily on those Washingtonians with the least ability to afford it.
Why some are expecting a political fight. Thanks for joining us here at 11. I'm Christine Pitawanich. New details tonight about last week's shooting involving U.S. Border Patrol in southeast Portland. Court documents indicate a federal officer shot a man and a woman on Thursday after the truck they were in repeatedly rammed a rental car being used by federal agents. This all happened in the parking lot of Adventist Health Primary Care in southeast Portland. Several agents said they were, quote, fearful for their safety. Apparently, months before this incident, local law enforcement was already investigating the pair. Our Catherine Cook joins us now live from the newsroom. Catherine, this couple is allegedly tied to a Portland shooting case.
Christine, court documents say the shooting happened in July. No one was hurt, but a neighbor tells us it was scary and unusual.
This is a quiet neighborhood.
A southwest Portland neighborhood, investigators now say, is tied to two suspects shot by federal agents outside a Portland medical clinic last week. Back in July, Washington County Sheriff's deputies responded to reports of a shooting at the Frank Estate Apartments on Southwest Furlock Way.
So it was broad daylight, so that was kind of the weird part.
Neighbor Justin Patonis was home and heard breaking glass.
And then next thing I know, I see the sheriff's department coming down my stairs and in our backyard and stuff. Fully got, the beanbag guns ready to go and stuff. So, just very confused what was going on.
The sheriff's office tells KGW no one was hurt and suspects fled the scene. Detectives also identified a person of interest in the case, Betsabeth Zambrano Contreras. Federal officials say she was one of two people shot last week by Border Patrol agents. Investigators identified the other as Luis Nino Moncada. Federal officials say both are connected to a Venezuelan gang and prostitution ring, which brings us back to the Frank Estates last July. An arrest affidavit filed by an FBI agent says sheriff's deputies interviewed two victims who weren't injured. They said they'd engaged in the services of a prostitute identified as Zambrano Contreras. The affidavit noted she left after a dispute, then returned to the apartment with several men and tried to break in. One victim ran out the back of the apartment and said he was shot at while running away.
Pretty crazy, yeah. I know I talked to the sheriff right after it happened, and then they just said a deal gone bad or something.
Patonis and other neighbors never imagined it would come to this 6 months later.
It's a heavy thing in the news, but unfortunately we just got to stay safe and, all band together essentially.
Nino Moncada remains behind bars. He'll be in court Wednesday. Zambrano Contreras was transferred to the ICE Processing Center in Tacoma. Christine.
Catherine Cook reporting for us tonight. Thank you, Catherine. Meantime, tonight, the Portland Police Bureau is reviewing a complaint about comments an officer made at a recent protest. The interaction was recorded, and in the video, a demonstrator appears to question the officer about the deadly shooting of Renee Nicole Good in Minneapolis.
Renee Nicole Good, you would shoot her too!
If she drove a car at me, yes.
So you would say second service, you absolutely clear for me.
What? Sometimes criminals get shot. If they threaten a
By
cop,
who? By
they
who?
get shot. By law
Criminals
enforcement.
get shot by law enforcement?
Absolutely.
When they're doing nothing?
No, when they're breaking the law.
That officer has now been assigned to other duties as the Police Bureau reviews a complaint against him. Portland Police Chief Bob Day tells KGW in a statement, quote, tensions are high at this time, and this is affecting all of us, including community members and Portland Police Bureau members. Our goal is to ensure that community trust is maintained and that members of the Bureau consistently represent the professional standards that everyone deserves. In Woodburn tonight, people gathered for a candlelight vigil. It follows similar events over the weekend across our region and the country after the deadly ICE shooting in Minnesota, then the Border Patrol shooting here in Portland. Woodburn's mayor attended, as did the state representative of that district, Leslie Munoz. She says she plans to introduce new legislation to protect Oregonians from the government's immigration crackdown.
In my district, we need people to feel safe, and we need them to feel like they belong in the community. I think it's very necessary. I don't understand why people would not want to protect their constitutional rights, but
Woodburn's mayor said as a city they can't do much, but they signed a letter demanding ICE stop its operations within the state. This week, a trial is underway for a Portland woman whose dogs mauled and killed a 6-year-old boy. The tragic incident happened back in December of 2023. Alma McCarty joins us now with the details from this first day in court. Alma.
Yeah, Christine, Coco Miller had been watching her longtime friend's grandson, helping her by taking the first grader to school each morning, an arrangement that had only been in place a couple of weeks. On the morning of December 5th, the child opened the door to Miller's garage, and inside were 2 of her Great Dane Mastiff dogs.
On a rainy December morning back in 2023, police officers blocked a Northeast Portland street, investigating a heartbreaking and deadly incident. Investigators found 6-year-old Loyalty Scott dead inside a home after he was mauled by 2 dogs named Carlos and Lola, belonging to Coco Miller.
She had been in the garage, that Loyalty had opened a door to the garage. Carlos had been in the garage and had lunged at and attacked the victim. The other dog, Lola, then joined in the assault, and that she was unable to pull both of the dogs off of Loyalty.
Months later, a grand jury indicted her on 4 felony charges, including criminally negligent homicide and maintaining a dangerous dog.
She did everything she could to put herself between the dog and the child. When she had nothing left physically, she yelled for the child to run. He said he could not. Miss Miller ran to retrieve her firearm in an attempt to stop the dog. When she returned, the dog trotted past her. It was then, only then, that she realized the child was no longer alive.
On Monday, Miller's trial began. Loyalty's grandmother, Rena Scott, took the stand.
Loyalty loved animals, and if he seen them, he would call them. He would try to approach them if they were. He wouldn't understand they were being aggressive until he actually seen it.
She testified about the initial phone call from Miller, hinting at what had happened.
Yeah, you need to turn around and come back. And I said, why? Is everything okay? And she said no. She said he was gone. And I said, you need to find my baby. I thought he had ran off at first.
While prosecutors argue this attack was predictable and preventable, the defense says the tragedy was a perfect storm of unforeseeable events.
And that trial is set to resume tomorrow morning. Christine?
I appreciate your reporting on this, Alma. Thank you. Let's get you caught up now on tonight's other headlines. Portland police are investigating after 2 men were found dead at a recycling center in North Portland days apart. The facility is on North Hunt Street, just north of Columbia Boulevard. Police say the first body was discovered January 5th, the second on January 9th. No details so far about what happened to the men, but the police homicide unit is investigating. Police don't believe the public is in danger. And to a disturbing case out of Pacific County on the coast in Washington, the Ilwaco fire chief was arrested and in court today for sex abuse charges. Jeffrey Archer is accused of raping and molesting at least 3 children from 2013 to 2019. More potential victims have come forward since his arrest. Archer's bail was set at $500,000. The city says after his arrest, he was immediately placed on administrative leave. Back in Portland, a prolific tagger was sentenced to 4 years in prison today for his graffiti convictions, but that may be just the start. Jacob Ramos is known for the beer tag sprayed across the city, but he now faces more charges after investigators say a search of his home turned up nearly a dozen guns and evidence of a gun-making workshop. Okay, now time to take a step outside on this Monday night, looking out from our Wells Fargo Skycam over the city of Portland, where it's about 41 degrees out. We saw some beautiful blue sky today, and this next week might be feeling a little more like early spring. Meteorologist Joe Ranieri here now with a first look at your weather impact forecast. Joe, before we get to more sunny weather, though, looks like the first part of tomorrow may be a weather impact day.
Yeah, especially down in the central and southern part of the Willamette Valley. Now, it's not for ice or snow or anything like that. Obviously, as you were just talking about the warm temperatures, it's because of the dense fog, and it's already starting to roll in. Now, a couple of hours ago, visibility was across the metro area about 10 miles. Now we're starting to see that visibility change a little bit, specifically over in parts of Hillsborough and McMinnville, where you're down to a half of a mile. It's only going to get worse over the next couple of hours and into tomorrow morning. Now, the advisory takes effect now and stays in effect until tomorrow morning about 11 o'clock or so. I think it's going to get really bad throughout the Salem area heading into your morning commute. We're also going to see that advisory throughout parts of Lynn and Lane County. We'll put the future cast into motion. So after midnight, you can kind of see the clouds already developing on this map. That's going to be the case heading into really the next couple of mornings. But the places that will see more of the sunshine tomorrow will be throughout the northern part of the valley and, of course, the metro area. But going into Wednesday, we'll be seeing that fog reform again, and it will be pretty dense heading into Wednesday as well. But the afternoons are going to be absolutely gorgeous along the coast and into the mountains. Now, we were looking at 2 to 3 feet of new snow last week from that big storm. Yeah, great gains for our snowpack. And now we're going to start to see it kind of melt away a little bit because temperatures up in the Oregon Cascades are going to be right around the upper 40s to low 50s in the next few days. You're not going to be seeing below freezing temperatures overnight as well. So tomorrow looks like this: dense morning fog turning sunny. Sunrise tomorrow at 7:48, sunset at 4:51. Yeah, that's no mistake. The daytime high tomorrow right around the mid to the upper 50s. Absolutely gorgeous start to the week, and it's going to be nicer heading into the next couple days once we get past the foggy conditions. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes.
Wow, appreciate the update. Thank you, Joe.